Welcome. I'm sorry if I've had some technical difficulties this morning. Okay, I'm wondering if I'm live. All right, shalom. I'm sorry I had some technical difficulties this morning. Couldn't get the internet to work. Had to go another route. So I'm on my cell phone this morning. So welcome to the Aliyah today. We are in Terumah. That is our parashah. I'm excited about the Aliyah today. I'm doing it from the Hover Hall. Let me move and let you get a seat. That is part of our Purim decorations. We will actually be reading the Megillah from within the doorway of the hut there. So I'm excited about Purim coming up, and I hope you are too. We will be streaming it live from what I understand. So let's get into our Aliyah today. I named it the ark. It's what inside that counts. When you think about it, the ark, that's what we're going to be talking about here shortly. Outside of the tablets, the covenant that's put inside the ark, it's nothing more than a pretty box. It's nothing more. The ark and tabernacle is just a pretty box, and without the covenant. And so it's exciting. I read this. It's before I converted to become a Jew, reading things like building the ark and Leviticus and things like that was just kind of a drudgery to me until I became a Jew and understood what it was all about. And so we're going to talk about building the ark this morning and what it should speak to us. In the Humash, it says that the very construction of the temple and the tabernacle was made necessary only because of Israel's lapse into virtual idolatry, the sin of the golden calf. He maintains that ideally no temple should have been needed after the revelation at Sinai, because the entire nation achieved a level of prophecy, and every Jew was worthy for the Shekinah, the divine presence, to rest upon him, as it later did on the tabernacle and the temple. Okay, so the tabernacle was necessary because of the sin of the golden calf. And in reality, we probably can all relate to this, that we have our heights of spiritual experience, our heights of our spiritual walk with HaShem. It seems that at those times something happens and we sin. It's common with everybody. And being at that spiritual height when we sin, the pain of that sin is so much more intense. And the thing is that HaShem provides a way back. He provides a way back through teshuvah. He provides a way back for the Israelites. What did he do? He provided them a tabernacle so that he could dwell in their midst. It's interesting. We read that it's not that he didn't say that he would dwell in the tabernacle. He said, I will dwell among them, among us. So the tabernacle is a place that's set in our midst so that HaShem can dwell in our midst, in us. So let's get into some of the things that I have written down here. It's interesting that as small as the tabernacle is and the temple, and even ourselves, how can we contain the presence of HaShem? Rabbis talked about this in the past. It's called Zimzum. And if you look in, I'm going to go to the Call of Torah, page 366. Okay. Since God is infinite, how can we say that the tabernacle is the dwelling place of the Shekinah? The Kabbalists utilize the concept of Hashem's contractions, zimzum, to resolve this enigma. The all-powerful God chose to withdraw the intensity of his presence unto himself. The tabernacle then becomes a focal point of this concentration. So the thing that we learn, all of creation, okay, the entire universe is not big enough for Hashem. When he created it, he contracted himself in order to create that so he could reside in it. So when he came, the Torah to say that he resides in the tabernacle, he contracts himself, his Shekinah, to reside there. About this passage, it's interesting in this passage that Rashi says that these instructions of the tabernacle was kind of out of order, okay? And that there's a principle that the Torah is not always written in chronological order. And these events here actually come after the golden calf, which we will read later. I think is chapter 27 or 28. Yeah. So when we get to that, but it says that these were written, this actually occurred after the golden calf, but was written now. However, Rambam would disagree with that. Ramban would disagree with that, and that this passage is in the right chronological order. In the Call of Torah, Rabbi Monk has this to say: God granted his forgiveness. The commands were confirmed anew. For out of the love of Israel, God wanted the remedy to precede the illness, i.e., the divine service of the tabernacle came before the sin of idolatry. This view agrees with the opinion of the Kabbalists and also those adopted by Ramban. God always provides a way. Before we have ever sinned, before our next sin and a sin after that, God has already provided a means for us, and it's called teshuvah. You know, there's something that I read about teshuvah, and we've talked about this, rabbis talked about this, is that, you know, when we're elevated and we're walking in a spiritual height, we're way up here, and when we sin, you know, we kind of drop down. When we make teshuvah, where do we go? We don't come up to here, we come up to here. We're elevated even beyond where we were before we sinned. The act of teshuvah does that. Let's see. Rabbi Monk says that by commanding Israel to build a tabernacle, says Abarnel, God showed that he had not forsaken the world. Quite the contrary. He wanted man to realize that the living God is in their midst and that his providence is always near. In this light, the tabernacle was intended to be the central rallying point of the nation, ringed by tribes and topped by the cloud of God's presence, and the place to which every Jew would go with offerings through which he hoped to elevate himself spiritually. Today, we don't have the tabernacle anymore. Today, we don't have the temple. What do we have? We have teshuvah. We have teshuvah and elevation offerings. They replace the tabernacle and the temple. But it's not only on the individual level. We make teshuvah together. We come together, united as the mishpachah, and we make teshuvah. You know, I was thinking about this, that there's nothing like a group of people coming before Hashem seeking spiritual elevation through teshuvah and elevation offering. I mean, if you close your eyes just for a second and think about what was going on when they had the tabernacle and all the people came, you would come to the tabernacle to make teshuvah, to present your elevation offerings. And all about you are other Jews, and you hear the noise, and it's a great noise of people making teshuvah, of people making presenting their elevation offerings, and they're praising God, they're thanking God, for the forgiveness that he gives them through teshuvah. And you just think about this. When you're in the midst of a whole people, a congregation of people making teshuvah, presenting their elevation offering, their praises to HaShem, it's anointed time. It is an anointed time. Like the Israelites with the sin of the golden calf, we all have sinned and felt the pain of sin. However, HaShem does not leave us without a way back to his presence, access to his Shekinah. I'm going to turn to, real quick, I just wanted to read something, 445 in the Humash. It says, throughout the long and bitter exile, which alternates between he's talking about now, the present time, throughout the long and bitter exile, which it alternates between grinding oppression and spiritual debilitating affluence. The centrality of God's presence is represented by the miniature sanctuaries of synagogues and study halls. For it is in them and through them that Jews hark back to the sounds of Sinai and the radiance of the temple. Our synagogue is a place that we come together and we come together. You log online and you listen to the Shabbat services, you listen to the Aliyah, you listen to the Messiah, you listen to all these. We all come together as one. That is why Lapid is so important. Lapid Judaism, the local synagogue, the logging online, for us to join together. This is where the tabernacle was important. It's set in the center of all the tribes, and the tribes were arranged around the tabernacle in their order, and it was in their midst. Our synagogue here in Saginaw is in our midst. We log online. It is a focal point for us. It's where we come together as the Mishpachah. And the tabernacle and ark are houses of, excuse me. Okay, we'll get it. The tabernacle and ark are houses for the covenant tablets. Without the tablets, they're just window dressing. It's what is inside that really matters. I was reading earlier Jeremiah 31 last night. It says, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the people of Israel and with the people of Judah. It will not be like the covenant I made with their ancestors when I took them by the hand to lead them out of Egypt, because they broke my covenant. Though I was a husband to them, declares the Lord, this is the covenant I will make with the people of Israel. After that time, declares the Lord, I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. No longer will they teach their neighbor or say to one another, know the Lord, because they will all know me from the least to the greatest, declares the Lord, for I will forgive their wickedness and will remember their sins no more. Whose mind and heart does HaShem write his Torah on? Go ahead, write it in the comments. Whose mind and heart does HaShem write his Torah on? Nobody? Come on, it's an easy question. Whose mind and heart does HaShem write his Torah on? Ours? If you're a Jew. If you're a Jew. It says he writes it on the people of Israel. This is covenant I will make with the people of Israel. After that time, I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts. It's the people of Israel. It's Jews. Okay. Yes, sir. You got it right. This is so important to understand because, I went to Bible college. I was the pastor. As a Christian, we would take this and we would appropriate it to ourselves as Christians, not understanding it's not talking about Christians. It's talking about Jews. I will put I will make my covenant on the mind and the heart of Israel, of Jews. And that's why conversion is so important. It is so important. So with the missing of the tabernacle, not having the temple anymore, it's so important to understand that those tablets that used to reside in the ark now are written on our hearts as Jews, not as Christians. So very important. A Jew, not a Gentile, not a Christian, but a Jew. Makes me want to dance sometimes, get up. Sacred Rayford's favorite song is by Benny Goodman. At least I think it is. Whenever he hears this, he gets up and starts to dance. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but it's Avri Anoki. I am a Jew and I'm proud. You should be proud to be a Jew because HaShem has written his covenant on your heart. What does this mean? When you read the Torah, you're not just reading words on a page, but words that are on your heart. Your heart leaps. I don't know if you have experience, but your heart leaps when you study Torah. When you discover a new Torah truth, your heart, it quivers, it leaps, it dances. It takes over your entire being. Why? Because you're in relationship with Torah. You're in relationship with HaShem. You're in relationship with Yeshua. Rabbi Bachya writes that the very name of the ark, Aron, derives from Orah, which is light. For the Torah is the light of the world. What does Yeshua say? In John 8:12, he says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And we read in John 1 that Yeshua is the Torah. Yeshua is the Torah. When we put on the man puts on his talit gadol to pray in the morning for Sakarit, okay? He prays these words. He says, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments, commanded us to wrap ourselves in tzitzit. How precious is your kindness, O God. We take at that point, we wrap the talit gadol around ourselves, and we say, how precious is your kindness, O God. The sons of men take refuge in the shadow of your wings. May they be sated from the abundance of your house, and may you give them to drink from the stream of your delights, for with you is the source of life. By your light shall we see light. By your Torah shall we see your light. Because today his Torah rests on our minds and hearts of those who follow Torah, those who are Jews, the light of the world. Anyone who denies Torah is relevant for today. Number one, denies Yeshua. He does not have the light of Torah written on his heart. That is why it's so important on a daily basis. We confirm the Torah. We confirm that the Torah is in our heart. We confirm our relationship with Torah. So, Rashi comments that the term for me indicates that people should, talking now about the contributions. We're getting a little late, but I really want to talk about this, where God talks about the contributions that the Israelites are to make for building the tabernacle, the ark and the tabernacle. He says, Rashi comments that the term for me indicates that people should contribute to the tabernacle purely for the sake of God's name, not because of social pressure or quest for honor. Sforno says that the leaders of Israel were not to levy a tax on them, but to request voluntary contributions. And as we read through this, we find that the people were so on fire for God to place his tabernacle among their midst, that they gave far beyond, that they had to ask them to stop bringing stuff, to stop bringing things. It is clear that it's okay how the people flooded the treasuries with treasure. Terumah says that homiletically, many comment that by contributing to God's causes, a Jew truly takes for himself for personal benefit of generosity is far greater than its cost. Many of us have experienced that opportunity. God says, okay, here's a need to meet it. And you meet the need and you feel within your heart and in your soul, in your life, a greater benefit spiritually for having given to that cause. We give not only because HaShem commands it in the sense of tithes and offers, not just because HaShem promises to return, but for the place of joy in who HaShem is and that he wants to reside in and with us. It's written on our heart. We do everything with joy. Everything with joy. I was reading an article Rabbi sent a couple of days ago on the Baal Shem Tov and how the Baal Shem Tov brought joy into everything. I mean, he was the founder of Hasidism, what we understand today. And it transformed the Jewish world. At the time when he first came on the scene, the Baal Shem Tov, it was a very kind of dark time. There was a lot of the what we would call today hellfire and brimstone preaching, teaching. That there was you could never do enough to please Hashem. You can never do enough. And Baal Shem Tov came on the scene and he began to talk about how we do things from a place of joy, a place of worship. And that is everything we do. Everything we do should be done from a place of joy. We read and hear how the people were so happy that Hashem not only said, I'm going to put the ark in your mess, but I want you to participate in the building of the ark. Not only for those that didn't have the skills, were not called to actually do the physical work, everybody else could contribute the means for building the ark, the material for building the ark. So important, so important. There's so many other things. Boy, I got started late. I have someone showing up here in just a few minutes here at the shul to do some work on our internet. That's why it was late getting started, because of the internet. I'm actually working off of my hotspot on my phone right now. But it's so important to understand. Many of you have watched and know that we have a series started called Paths of Faith. And the purpose of Paths to Faith is to do interviews with people who have converted to Judaism through Lapid Judaism. And it's so important that we understand the need to become Jews. God will not write his covenant on a heart other than a Jewish heart. God will not call us to be part of that covenant unless we become Jews. And if you truly want this covenant to be on your heart and you have not converted, I really want to urge you to make that step. Really seek Hashem about that. Say, Hashem, how can I go about this? How do I do? Reach out to Keturah. Just reach out to somebody. It's so important to be a Jew. That's who he writes his law upon. We're past our time. I'm expecting someone to show up here pretty soon. So I'm sorry we got late and this was so short. and I was so scattered. There was so much to go through. I had several pages of notes, and I still have several more. So Hilu, I would suggest you put your question into comments after this, and we will answer you. Okay? Thank you very much. You guys have a blessed day. Shalom.